Welcome to SEM's Information Destruction 101. During this presentation, we will break down the NSA standards for data destruction by material and showcase possible solutions for each of those materials. And I am Heidi White, and I am Director of Marketing here at SEM. Let me just start with a very brief background. SEM has been the leader in the data destruction industry for over 50 years. We were actually founded as a result of the Pueblo incident. Pueblo incident was on January 23, 1968. The USS Pueblo, which was a Navy intelligence vessel, was engaged in a routine surveillance of the North Korean coast when it was intercepted by North Korean patrol boats. According to US reports, the Pueblo was in international waters almost 16 miles from shore, but the North Koreans turned their guns on the lightly armed vessel and demanded its surrender. The Americans attempted to escape, and the North Koreans opened fire, wounding the commander and 2 others. With capture inevitable, the Americans stalled for time, destroying the classified information aboard while taking further fire. Unfortunately, the volume of material on board was so great that it was impossible to destroy it all prior to capture. An NSA report quotes Lieutenant Steve Harris, the officer in charge of Pueblo's Naval Security Group Command Detachment. Only a small percentage of the total classified material aboard the ship was destroyed. And that was his direct quote. Korean War veteran Leonard Rosen, who was also SEM's founder, was struck with the idea that there must be a better way to destroy classified information, and he began working to develop a faster, more efficient, and secure method. Within weeks, he had developed the concept for the world's first paper disintegrator, and SEM was born. While we do provide equipment to the commercial space, our history and the bulk of our work is in the federal government space, with particular focus on the DoD and intelligence community. So, in the United States, the golden standard for data destruction in government agencies is the NSA Evaluated Products Lists, typically referred to as EPLs. These lists follow the recommendations set forth in the NSA and CSS's Storage Device Sanitization Manual, and they cover data destruction requirements for materials like paper, optical media, key tape, hard drives, SSDs, and more. The EPLs also include tested products that are approved to destroy classified and top secret materials to the final particle size as mandated by the NSA. Some of the products listed are paper shredders, optical media shredders, disintegrators, hard drive shredders, and others. These lists are updated as new products are tested and as standards change, and they can be found on the NSA's website. Links to all the lists are also on SEM's website. It's really important to stay up to date with these EPLs, as the NSA does, in fact, make changes to these lists fairly regularly. One such change was the new DVD Blu-ray spec that came through at the end of 2018, which we'll get into a bit more detail on later. The most recent update was just this past March of 2020. To begin, we will look at paper destruction. Paper destruction guidelines may be both referred to by the NSA mandated size of 1 millimeter by 5 millimeter, or the ISO IEC, that's the old DIN 66399, level P7 that is used in much of Europe. There are several different methods of destroying paper that we will get into in just a minute, but the important thing to remember is that for anything in the federal government that is classified or controlled unclassified information, and that's typically referred to as CUI, the federal government mandates a 1 millimeter by 5 millimeter final particle size for every single sheet shredded. Unclassified information in non-executive branches of the government and commercial paper can be destroyed to P4 level, which is 6 millimeters by 25 millimeters. You can see that on the left there. You can see the difference in the particle sizes. Are there shredders that produce a larger particle size? Yes, but we do not recommend them for most applications. The point of a shredder is to make information unrecoverable, and anything less than that P4 shown on the left there could potentially be recoverable. And if any of you are old enough to remember the Iranian embassy takeover of 1979, it's actually a great anecdote of the importance of final particle size when it comes to paper shredding. So on November 4th, 1979, for those of you that remember, student revolutionaries stormed the US embassy in Tehran, Iran, taking 90 people hostage, including 66 Americans. During the chaos, staffers raced to shred sensitive documents containing highly confidential information. The documents were strip shredded and left behind, assuming they were destroyed forever. What actually happened is that these shreds were put into the hands of local carpet weavers who leveraged their skills and craft and painstakingly reconstructed these documents. You can see that in the left-hand side photo there. And yes, they did. It took years of patience and persistence, but their efforts were indeed successful. Not only were government secrets compromised and agents' lives put at risk, but the Iranian government actually released the information in a series of books called Documents from the US Espionage Den. These books are actually for sale to the public by local vendors in Iran, even to this day. Another interesting little tidbit is that the Iranian embassy did in fact have a couple of SEM disintegrators in-house, which produce a classified particle size, but they were using them to shred something else they didn't want the Iranians to get their hands on, namely money. That's why the paper was shredded with old strip cut shredders. Those disintegrators, those old SEM disintegrators, are still a part of the museum on the site of our old embassy today. And you can see the picture of the museum there on the right. Okay, just to give a quick background on how the CUI directive came about. Executive Order 13556, Controlled Unclassified Information, established a program for managing CUI across the executive branch. And they designated the National Archives and Records Administration, or NARA, as executive agent to implement this order and oversee agency actions to ensure compliance. As far as end-of-life destruction, the ISOO's CUI directive mandates that CUI paper must be destroyed to NIST 888's recommended 1 millimeter by 5 millimeter final particle size, which, of course, as we mentioned, is the same particle required by the NSA for classified paper. The CUI mandate affects all executive branch agencies, which covers most government agencies. So if you are operating in a non-executive branch, CUI can be destroyed to the P4 level we discussed earlier. The first thing that comes to mind when destroying paper is probably a paper shredder. Paper shredders are available to meet a wide variety of needs and requests. Some variances that can be found across paper shredders are throughput speeds, physical size, portability, built-in oilers, things like that. Again, remember that paper must be shredded to that 1 millimeter by 5 millimeter particle size for both classified and CUI material. Also remember that classified material must be destroyed only in an NSA listed device. So even if a shredder meets that 1 millimeter by 5 millimeter particle, if it hasn't been evaluated or listed by the NSA, you cannot shred classified material in it. We realize this may be confusing. The easiest way to remain compliant is to simply purchase a shredder that is on the NSA EPL. This way, you can be confident that it is safe to use for any type of paper media, from classified to CUI to unclassified. Another option for paper destruction is disintegration. Disintegrators are large systems that use both rotating and stationary heavy-duty steel knives to continuously cut items until they are small enough to pass through a set screen size. This is also the machine that is near and dear to my heart, as it was innovated by our founder, Leonard Rosen, and it is how SEM came into existence. And that's part of that Pueblo incident story I mentioned earlier that you can read about on our website. Many of our disintegrators are listed on the NSA EPL for paper, CDs, and key tape, and they are also capable of destroying CUI and unclassified media, such as DVDs and Blu-rays, USB drives, flash media, smartphones, and more. Now, this is a key difference from high-security paper shredders, which can only accept paper. These disintegrators can also take paper clips, staples, that type of thing. Green solutions are also available for paper destruction. There are NSA-listed paper shredders that require no oil, allowing a more eco-friendly process. A large problem with the small classified particle size of paper shredders and disintegrators is that the paper cannot be recycled because the final shred is too small and creates just too much bulk. It's not that they can't be recycled, it's that recycling centers refuse to accept them. And it's understandable. If you are familiar with the way paper bulks up when shredded, I'm sure you are nodding your head along in understanding. That said, with disintegrators, a briquetter system can be attached that reduces and compacts paper into briquettes that look like fat hockey pucks, and you can see them in the picture there on top of the book. Recyclers typically accept these briquettes, which reduce the original paper waste by about 90%. Briquetting provides cleaner operation in addition to the ability to recycle. These disintegrators and briquetters can be combined into large green destruction systems. These centralized destruction systems are constructed for agencies or bases that have a large volume of data to destroy consistently. These systems will have disintegrators, conveyors, air systems, and briquetting systems all in one place and are customized and uniquely designed for every order. Many will also have additional data destruction devices as well. In fact, this facility shown in the picture, which of course I can't say where it is due to security concerns, was built to include total redundancy in case any machine ever goes down. It has 2 disintegrators. You can see those on the front and the right of the picture. An air system, 2 optical media destroyers over on the left by the control panels there, 2 0304 hard drive shredders, those are the big guys, and 2 high security degaussers. It's a pretty neat little system. Another little interesting tidbit here is that the disintegrator system that is a little further back there is over 15 years old and still running perfectly. The newer one is only a couple of years old and includes some newer features like the metal detector on the conveyor. The conveyor will actually stop if the system detects any metal on the conveyor. This would be binder clips, paper clips, etc. Okay, so I know I said before that disintegrators can handle staples and paper clips. This is true. The thing is that the disintegrators can, but the briquetters can't. So if you were using a disintegrator for paper with a briquetter, you would just need to install what's called a center flow magnet, which forces any disintegrated staples or paper clips to stick to the magnet. And it's super easy to clean out. Just lift the magnet and voila, the metal dust falls off of it. There really are so many convenience options for disintegrators. It's why our customers love them so much. All right, now we are getting into digital media storage, starting with optical media. Optical media particle sizes are split. The NSA mandates that classified CDs be destroyed to a 5mm particle size, but that DVDs and Blu-ray discs be destroyed to an even smaller size of 2mm. This change took place at the end of 2018. It has caused some confusion. The rationale behind this is that DVDs and Blu-ray discs are much denser with data. So with some incredibly sophisticated tools and oodles of time, someone could possibly get a bit of data off of a 5mm particle of a DVD or Blu-ray disc. This is totally understandable for the intelligence community and classified data, but trust us on this. For anything that is CUI or unclassified, that 5mm particle is going to be more than adequate. Of note here is that CAC IDs, CAC ID cards, those also fall into that 2mm particle requirement for destruction. There are not a whole lot of devices on the EPL for DVD and Blu-ray destruction, and those that are more suited for lower volume applications. Even our unbelievably popular 0200 OMD SSD, which is NSA listed for all optical media at that 2mm particle size, it's really best suited for low volumes. Therefore, we highly recommend that applications not requiring that classified particle to stick with a machine listed for CDs, not that DVD Blu-ray spec. And before any of you say it, I know this is pretty much opposite of what we recommend for paper, where we recommend purchasing the device for classified. It really comes down to usability and convenience for you, the end user. I'm sure that as we see more devices come onto the EPL for DVD and Blu-ray, that we will see some higher volume devices there. At that point, we will definitely change our recommendation. Depending on the material needed to be destroyed by the user, devices can be bought that shred to only the 5mm size mandated for CDs or to the 2mm size mandated for DVDs and Blu-rays. Devices can be bought as a standalone unit in a cabinet or even part of a combo unit with a built-in paper shredder. So next up is hard drive destruction. At SEM, we like to think of hard drive destruction as a 3-step process: degauss, destroy, and document. The NSA mandates that all hard drives must be degaussed in an NSA-listed degausser and then physically destroyed, either by crushing or shredding, to be considered sanitized. Documenting is not mandated by the NSA, but can help an agency or business stay organized and know which drives have been degaussed and when. So let's look more into what degaussing actually is. Degaussing is the process of using powerful magnetic fields to erase magnetic storage media, including rotational platter-based hard disk drives, all common types of tape media, and floppy disks. The NSA mandates that electromagnetic pulse degaussers have a magnetic field of at least 2.0 Tesla or 20,000 Gauss. When a hard drive is put inside of a degausser, its binary code is scrambled and broken, rendering the drive useless and all data destroyed. I do want to stress here that degaussing and erasing are not the same thing, even secure erasure. Erasure or overwriting allows the drive to be reused. Degaussing completely destroys the drive and all of its data. First and foremost, degaussing is far superior to erasure in terms of security. There's virtually no chance of data remaining on a degaussed drive. However, erased drives still hold some snippets of data, and of course there are varying degrees of erasure. For the most secure erasure, it can take days to overwrite a disk. Degaussing, on the other hand, takes about 10 seconds. Of course, the major drawback is that the drive is junk afterward, but typically when we are getting rid of a drive, it's because it has reached the end of its useful life. So we here see this as a non-issue. Degaussing is superior in terms of both speed and sanitization. Okay, so once the degaussing is done, the drive will need to be destroyed. So the second step of our three-step process, let's look at different ways you can destroy hard drives. The first option is crushing drives. This is ideal for users who have a low volume of hard drives to destroy. These crushers use a hydraulic press with extreme force to puncture the rotating disk of the hard drive. Now that the drive is physically destroyed, its data destruction is complete. Remember, for classified data, it is not enough to just physically destroy the drive. It must be degaussed first. Another benefit of using a crusher like the O101 is its size and portability. For locations with lower volumes, the degausser and crusher can go on a wheeled table or can go into deployment cases and are then portable. This solution is also very competitive in terms of price at around $20,000, making it our #1 seller for classified hard disk drive destruction. Another option for the physical destruction of hard drives is shredding. Shredding drives is ideal for users who have a larger volume of drives or who are looking for a more centralized destruction. These machines are capable of shredding thousands of drives per hour and use rotating blades to shred drives into tiny pieces. Again, remember that classified drives must be degaussed first to be considered completely destroyed. A unique feature of SEM hard drive shredders is that they have been specifically engineered to handle enterprise drives. Enterprise drives are thicker, heavier, and are built with more rugged, solid components. And shredders that are not specifically built for this purpose really struggle with these enterprise drives. These are the types of drives found in data centers, where many of our larger machines reside. In fact, that is really how these machines came to be. Many of our products have actually been engineered because of client requests, and this is the case with our enterprise hard drive shredders. So, anyways, back to shredding. HDDs really don't need to be destroyed to a very small particle because they have already been degaussed in the case of classified, and for commercial, really any platter deformation is really enough. The most typical shred size for hard disk drives is 1.5 inch wide by random length, and that is shown in the photo there. You can also shred to a 3/4 inch particle for added safety, but it certainly is not a requirement. Another cool thing about shredders is that they can be built for HDDs, SSDs, or both, called a combo, and we will talk about that in a moment. But first, on to documenting. The third step in that process is documenting. And again, while not mandated by the NSA, documenting can help an agency or business keep track of when drives were degaussed and destroyed. Systems like SEM's Eyewitness scan barcodes on drives before they are degaussed. An SEM degausser will display a barcode when the degaussing process is complete, providing the user with the time, date, and Gauss level the drive was hit with. The system will also log who is doing the degaussing. All of this data is a safety blanket to make sure that information is completely destroyed and provides an auditable paper trail to prevent any confusion in the future about whether or not the drive was destroyed completely. The Eyewitness system also can be configured to be fully SCIF compliant. Okay, so let's talk about solid state drives, or SSDs, which are one of the trickier types of devices to destroy. Because the data is stored on numerous chips across the drive's board, SSDs must be destroyed to a smaller particle than HDDs. They also cannot be degaussed. So in fact, for classified data, the NSA requires destruction to a maximum 2 mm final particle size to ensure that each and every chip on the board is completely destroyed. And that particle size there is on the left. These chips on the boards vary in size and are in completely different locations on every drive. In addition, thumb drives, cell phones, tablets, flash media, and SIM cards are all types of solid-state devices. As you can see from the photo, that final particle size is really dust. The easiest way to get to the 2 mm particle size is by disintegration. Much like hard drive shredders, SSD disintegrators are high-volume machines with rotating blades that cut through every chip. What makes a disintegrator different from a shredder is the fact that the final waste must pass through a sizing screen to ensure there are no outliers. Very similar to our paper disintegrators, same process. And those combo units I talked about a couple minutes ago, they are an option that provide a lot of bang for the buck. These machines can shred both HDDs and SSDs in separate cutting chambers and with separate feed chutes. For SSDs, shredders produce a 0.375-inch particle so that all the chips on the boards are destroyed. This is more than acceptable for commercial CUI and unclassified SSDs, but not for classified, as discussed previously. I wanted to draw your attention to the photo on the left there. That shows the two cutting heads inside of a combo shredder. You can see that the left is for HDDs and the right for SSDs. One thing to note, HDDs absolutely cannot be destroyed on the SSD side as it could damage the machine. While there are no combo units that destroy both HDDs and SSDs to the mandated NSA specifications, these combo machines are NSA approved for step 2 of the Degaussing destroy mandate for HDDs. So they're approved for HDDs, they're not for SSDs. Small E-media can be destroyed in smaller office disintegrator solutions. These devices, like USB drives, flash media, and smartphones, can all be destroyed in these mixed media disintegrators with various screen sizes to determine the final particle size. It's important to note that when destroying anything with a battery, laptops, tablets, phones, for example, batteries and screens must be removed prior to destruction. You really don't want to run a battery through a destruction device, and all of our devices carry this warning. Batteries have all kinds of toxic material in them, which can cause serious problems if shredded. All right, so we have 2 more topics left, and next we're going to look at key tape. Can't forget about key tape. While this is somewhat of a legacy medium, the federal government still has a lot of key tape, believe it or not. Key tape can be destroyed in dedicated key tape destruction machines, such as the one pictured here, or in mixed media disintegrators with the correct screen. Key tape destruction requires a 5/64-inch screen to produce the acceptable final particle size. Our large disintegrators we discussed earlier also meet this spec. Of course, visiting the NSA EPL will provide a full list of all approved devices. So now for the last topic, dog tags. Dog tags historically have had social security numbers printed on them. Because of this, they need to be properly shredded and destroyed. Because they are so small, you would think a shredder would be okay for its size, but the solid metal material means most shredders will not be able to destroy dog tags. In fact, putting dog tags in most paper shredders will damage the cutting heads. Custom shredders are available that have more rigid cutting heads that can withstand the metal material that dog tags are made of. For example, our ID Shred 65 that's shown in the photo there is specifically engineered to take dog tags. And that wraps up this presentation. We hope you learned a little more about the NSA EPL and the mandates related to different data types. We have lots of resources on our website, and you can follow us on social media for NSA EPL changes and lots of other relevant industry news. Thanks so much, and please feel free to reach out with any questions at all. Thanks again.